Hey everybody, this is Miss Marci over at Johnson County Arts and Heritage Center. I am in the art studio and I wanted to say hi to everybody. What we're going to be working on is a collage. So I know when you guys come here either for a class or when you come here for open studio, we have all these great supplies around, but not everybody has all the great supplies. You know, that's why you come here to do that. So we're going to be doing some demos of projects that you can work on at home, just finding stuff around the house. So this collage is just made with all different kinds of papers that I found around the house. So you might be surprised what you can use. Stuff you might not even think about. Everybody thinks about construction paper. Not everybody has a lot of construction paper at home. So other things you can use notebook paper if you've got that from school. You can use any kind of notebook paper. You can also use computer paper. Just if it's even already been printed on, just turn it over. You've got the back of any kind of paper that's already been used. Just use the back of it if you need to. What else? If you've got a sketchbook laying around, there's always sketchbook paper that you can use, and any kind of, if your parents have computer paper, grab that. Anything that you can think of, maybe even the back of a cereal or the inside of a cereal box. People forget if that you can use that cardboard. So, and we're going to be using that for other projects coming up. So if you've got cereal boxes or other food boxes, hang on to them, because next week we're going to be using those for another project. So just keep them aside. So the only thing you're going to need today is some paper, a pencil, a scissors, glue. It doesn't have to be a glue stick. If you've got just glue in a container, use that. I'm also going to talk about using markers and other kinds of fancy paper that you can find at home, which I think is really cool. So lots of things you might not even have thought about using when we do our collage. Looking for paper that is have patterns on it or is a little bit interesting to look at. You can, if you want to, find newspapers. If you guys get the newspaper, everybody gets these free ads on Wednesdays. And these are really fun because they're a lot more colorful than actual newspaper. They've got all kinds of cool things. So you can look for colors in the ads for the fruit and stuff like that. I'm gonna use some of that. You kind of have to look. So you have to get in the habit of kind of looking through this stuff and seeing what you can find. The other thing is wrapping paper. And ask your mom or dad, I bet anything that they have a stash of wrapping paper from birthdays and stuff laying around somewhere in a box. Could be Christmas paper too, it doesn't matter. But ask them if they've got any wrapping paper laying around, or gift bags. Gift bags are really cool too, and you can just cut them up. But they're awesome paper, and you know, you don't have to wait for somebody's birthday. You might as well get them out and use them now. And another really I've been looking for papers. I've been looking for cool papers, and this is so interesting because I just noticed the other day that sometimes when we get mail, if you look, have your mom and dad or dad look through their mail envelopes that come, if you open them up sometimes, oh, they have patterns inside. Oh my gosh, this is like gold. So I'm saving this. I've got several different ones. Not all the companies that make them make the same pattern, so you can kind of collect those. The other thing is magazines. Any kind of magazine you have laying around always has little pictures, but other than that, it has colors. So you don't have to use just a picture that you cut out. You can just look for a color. I see blue right here, and I could cut that out. There's that beautiful turquoise for the water. I could use that. And catalogs. Catalogs are awesome, especially if your mom or dad get catalogs that have clothing, because look, I can use polka dots. Really cool. So it's just a matter of getting yourself interested in finding patterns in papers that are laying around. Other thing you can do is make your own pattern paper, and that's really fun. So you can take one of the papers that you found, that we talked about before, and grab some markers. I'm going to use this paper that's already been used, and just make a pattern. So just to remind you that a pattern is any kind of a design that is repeated. So you can choose any kind of designs or symbols that you like. And as long as you cover your paper with the designs or symbols using different colors, whatever colors you like, repeating them is going to give you a pattern design. So you could fill up your whole paper with that and use that as the background for your collage, which is exactly what I did. I used triangles and swirls for this background. And I made another background last night. This one is stars and circles. So that's the one I'm going to use today for our collage. So we are going to get started. So get your paper, your glue, your pencil, your scissors, and we are ready to go. Okay, so what we're going to make today is a portrait, and it can be anything you want. It can be something really silly, it can be someone that you know, it can be yourself, it doesn't matter. But we're just going to make a face of some sort. Like I said, it can be a cartoon, it can be an alien, a robot, whatever you think. So I'm going to use my handmade background that I did with my markers. I'm choosing some pink construction paper for a face. And all I'm going to do, I'm not going to be too particular, I'm just going to cut an oval. Very easy, not worried about it being perfect. That is so not the point. We just really want to have fun with this. So the only thing I would say is make sure it's large enough. We don't want to have a teeny tiny little oval. So something maybe about that big, maybe a little smaller. Just because I want to make sure that I have enough room for hair, and if you're doing some kind of a monster or anything, you want room for antennas or horns or whatever. So don't take up the whole thing with the face. So that's my start. Now I can start to look through my papers for what I need, and I know I need 2 eyes. So the first thing I want to do is find a place that has some white. You can either just use white paper, or I'm just going to use some of this scrap paper, and I'm going to cut 2 ovals. Now your character might not have oval eyes. Maybe when you're thinking about it, they have triangle eyes or square eyes or whatever you come up with. Doesn't matter, whatever you think. And you can, since you're cutting this stuff, you can change your mind in the middle of it and change the shapes. So I'm just going to start with these kind of ovals. And I'm going to set them there. I'm not going to glue anything quite yet. I want to get everything cut out and then I can glue. So I've got that, and then I need actually 1, 2, 3 more circles. So the next thing I'm going to look for is a color. What color is my character's eyes? And I remember I saw this blue that I liked out of this advertisement. So I am going to cut 2 blue circles. 1. I'm not drawing anything out. I'm not even going to think about drawing anything out. Just going to cut. And there is circle number 2. And where you place your circles is going to tell what your character's doing. So you can use all kinds of little cartoony faces and things like that if you want to look for expressions. Okay, so I've got that. Then I need something dark for the pupil. So I've got this dark blue here, which I think will work. It doesn't have to be black, it just needs to be darker. And I'm going to cut 2 more circles. Maybe smaller. And notice I am really not being too careful with making perfect circles, because it's a lot more interesting. It's kind of goofy. And then I'm going to make a mouth, and I saw in one of the ads, oh, I think that was it. I saw this orange here, and I thought, oh, that might be a really good color for a little goofy smile. So I'm just going to cut that out. So you have to kind of get good at looking just for colors and kind of ignoring exactly what the object is. So I really didn't care that that was an orange. I just was looking for a color. I can make my little smile. There's two pieces there. And then there's lots of different ways to make noses. Noses are tough to do, but there's lots of ways to do it. And what I usually like to do is make an L shape. So I'm going to cut that. I'm going to cut that out of these grapes right here. Not worried about anything being a certain way. Just going to cut kind of this L shape. Little nose. Okay, so now we have a face and hair. We need hair. So I love this wrapping paper. I think this would be so cool. So what I'm going to do, I am just going to see what happens if I cut some zigzags. And kind of form it. Almost looks more like a crown. So we can go with that. Doesn't have to be hair. It could be some kind of crazy crown. We'll do that. And if I have that, and the crown is just there, we can make some ears. So what I'm going to do is cut kind of a long oval. And cut it in half. And that is going to give me ears for my guy's face. Okay, there's other things you can add. You can maybe need some eyebrows. Eyebrows are awesome because they help to give you expression. So eyebrows are really helpful if you have a certain thing in mind that you want to have your character doing. So if our guy has his eyebrows up, he might look surprised. If he has them down, he might look worried or angry. So that really helps. So whatever way you want to do it, that. And once you have all of your pieces and you have them where you want them, then you can start to glue. Now this guy might need some hair or something like that, and you guys can figure out exactly what your character needs. You could add glasses, you could add a different kind of hat, you can do just anything that you want. And sometimes it's just fun to not have a plan and just kind of go with it. And as you find your pieces, then your character might tell you what it wants to do. You know, you might all of a sudden look like your cousin Alvin, and then you just have to say, oh, right, I'm going to go with that. So we're just going to make these eyes really quick. Of course, you can add eyelashes if you want to. Cut out some beautiful long eyelashes. You can make the hair any way you want. You can take paper and twist it and make curly hair. And I know that you can think of a lot of different things that you can do. So I'm using the glue stick, but like I said, you can use any kind of glue you have. If you don't have a glue, you can use tape. It doesn't matter. So I'm gonna have all these pieces on here. I love this crown. This is kind of cool. Get that all in place. I'm just going to put a little bit of glue on his chin, hold it down, smile, his little L-shaped nose, and his ears. And once I have that, I think I'm going to be done. So if you want to go and start your search for papers and supplies, and I know you guys can probably think of things that I have not thought of. So I would love to know what you came up with to use for your character. And I would love to see them too. So anyway, have fun, look for stuff, and if you find papers, keep them, because like I said, you know, over the next couple of weeks, we're going to be doing other projects with other teachers, and we'll let you know what you're going to need for that, but it's going to be stuff that you can find right at home, so don't worry about that, and thank you for being with us, and have fun, be creative. Bye.